Hello and welcome back to my channel. I'm Amelia and this is So Amelia, where I talk all about making a handmade wardrobe for me and my children. Welcome to this week's video where I am back and talking about all of the things that I have made this summer. It's so lovely to be back here on YouTube with you all. I did take a break in August and I had a really lovely time with my family over the summer break. My parents actually travelled from New Zealand to spend the month with us, which has been such a special time with them. We've travelled around the UK a little bit and spent lots of time just doing lots of walks and paddling in streams and enjoying the sunshine when it has been around. Sadly, it's not been a very bright and sunny summer, so some of my makes haven't got a lot of wear, but I have enjoyed doing a little bit of sewing here and there as I can, and I'm looking forward to sharing what I have been making with you all. Now, I have got about 6 or 7 things that I've made this summer that have worked out really well, so I'll share those with you today. And then I have got 2 things that did not work out so well, but I will share those with you too and talk about the journey that I've had with those couple of makes as well. So because there are quite a few makes to talk through today, I didn't think I'd go into too much detail about each one, or we'll be here for a very long time. So below the video, as ever, I will put in the description box all of the details about the patterns and the fabrics when I can link those as well. So if you want any more details about the pattern sizes or what is required in terms of fabrication and detailed line drawings and so on, please do go and click on those links that I'll put below, and that should take you through to the designers' websites where you'll be able to find lots more detail about each of the patterns that I mentioned in today's video. So I'll launch straight in, and one of the first things I did this summer was actually to buy a project box from Hey Sew Sister. Now, I'm always a bit nervous about project boxes and subscription boxes because you never quite know what you're going to get and whether you're going to like the fabric. But being that I absolutely adore everything that Georgie pops up in her Hey Sew Sister fabric shop, I thought there was a pretty high chance that I would love what was in the project box for this summer, and I really did. So in the project box you got a pattern, you got some fabric, you got some thread for that fabric. We also got some of Georgie's new labels to go with the make. There was an extra label included to go with the make that we had in the box, and there was some elastic, which was one of the things you needed to make the pattern that was included in the box. So I'll show you what I made, and I did actually make the pattern that came in the box, and it was the Styla Norman jumpsuit in this beautiful cotton poplin that was designed by Georgie especially for the box. So it was really nice to have a fabric that was really unique and that wouldn't be found anywhere else, and I just love it. This blue is really one of my colours, so I was super excited about that. And I hadn't seen the Styla Norman jumpsuit before, so I was really excited to give that a go. As you can see, it's quite a loose fit jumpsuit with really lovely wide legs, so it's a lovely relaxed fit. Now, I did know that I didn't want it to be too relaxed, and having made some Styla patterns before, I know that the size 8 on their measurement chart fits me really well, even though I fit into a size 8 at the bust and a 10 at the waist and a 12 at the hip. Now, because there's a lot of ease here through the hip, I knew that I'd probably get away with sewing a straight size 8, which is what I did, and it fits really nicely. Now at the back there's a little bit of elastic sewn in, which just draws it in ever so slightly across the waist, which gives it a really nice shape there. And then the wide legs are such fun to wear. Now, I've worn this a lot in the summer actually with my children. It's very comfortable, great for a day out walking with them, and the bright colours are just such fun to wear. So I know I'm going to get a lot more wear out of this, and in fact I would quite like to make another Styla Norman. Now we're actually going on holiday in a little bit, and I thought about making this in a cotton ponte fabric actually, because I thought it would be a really comfortable travelling garment. So I may yet make another one of these Styla jumpsuits. I just love it, and I had so much fun wearing it and taking the photographs in this jumpsuit. So a real win for me, and I cannot wait to see what Georgie puts in the winter project box, because I will definitely be purchasing that one. Now, in my last video that I shared on the channel before I took a break, I talked about potentially making the Doe Myosotis in this red cotton gingham, or making another lovely summery dress in a rainbow checkerboard seersucker. Now, sadly, the weather just hasn't been warm enough, and I wasn't inspired then to sew up that fabric, which is a bit sad because it's still in my stash and I don't think it will be sewn up before next summer. But that's okay, I still have plans for that fabric and I can't wait to get it sewn up when it does get warmer. But in the meantime, I did choose to sew up the Doe Myosotis dress, which has been a really practical piece in my wardrobe. It is such a lovely dress. I don't know why I've not made it before. I'm probably the last sewer to make the Myosotis dress, but it is a really lovely button-up shirt dress. Now it is a very relaxed fit, so I did size down one size from my bust measurement. So I think I came out at a 40 for the bust, and I actually sized down to a 38 looking at the finished garment measurements. Now it fits really nicely across the bust, and then obviously the waist and hips are less fitted because it is just a gathered skirt. So the construction is lovely. I really like the shape of this neckline. I really like the mandarin collar. I will definitely be making some more Myosotis dresses because again, they are such a comfortable, relaxed and easy to wear piece in my wardrobe. Now initially I was a bit worried about the length of this, having seen a few other reviews of the Myosotis dress. It comes with two lengths, so I think view A has a shorter skirt and ruffles on the sleeves, I think, and then view B has a longer skirt. And I think there's an optional ruffle that you can add onto the skirt. So what I decided to do actually was make the longer tier for the first tier and add the ruffle because I thought that would give me the length that I wanted, because I did not want it to be too short, given that this is a dress for running around with my children in the park and playing with them on the weekends and things. Now actually that came out too long. It wasn't particularly flattering, for want of a better word. I didn't feel comfortable in it, which is probably more important. And so actually I shortened this tier here, the first tier of the skirt, back up to view A length. It comes just above my knee, and then I added the ruffle back on, and I'm really happy with where that sits. It just falls just below my knee. I feel comfortable in it. It's long enough for running around after my children, and I really, really love the bright red colour of this cotton gingham. Now I got this fabric from Spotlight when I was travelling in New Zealand, but if I can, I'll pop it in the box below and link it there. Now the next thing I made actually was this dress here, and this is a combination of two patterns. This is the Mimi G S9597 with the sleeves from this McCall's 8282. So the original Mimi G pattern comes with quite thin straps, and I really do like the tops of my shoulders being covered, both just from a comfort point of view but also just protecting me from the sun a little bit. So this was a wearable toile, and it has been very wearable, and I have enjoyed wearing it. It has a lovely open back detail, and this bodice here buttons up at the back. Now I did see Brogan from the Crafty Pie make a version with long ties, and I really, really loved that. So I decided to do the same thing for my version, both because I like the ties and also because I can't imagine how I'm going to do up all of those buttons over my back. So I'm very, very happy with this. Again, I shortened the skirt. It comes as quite a long skirt, shortened it to just below the knee, and it has pockets, which is very important. And I made it in this fabric, which sadly is no longer available, from Rainbow Fabrics, which is a lovely, lovely cotton poplin. Really like the navy blue base. And actually, I think I probably could get away with wearing this in the winter with perhaps a jumper over the top and tights and boots and things, because it does have that lovely navy base. I like the sleeves. They went on fine to the bodice. I just followed the instructions for adding the sleeves onto the bodice piece in the McCall's 8282 pattern, and then carried on with constructing the 9597 as in the instructions there. Now I did find with the pattern I did have to size down. I think I came out as about a size 14 on the size chart. I actually sewed up a size 10, which fits beautifully. And Brogan also mentioned on her channel that the elastic across the back came up a little bit big. So thank you to her for that tip. I did also tighten the elastic across my back because obviously don't want to reveal anything. So it's nice to have a firm fit across my back. So if you are making it, just bear that in mind if you want a more fitted look across the back there. So I'm very, very happy with this one. It's been lots of fun to wear when it has been slightly warmer, and I will be making that pattern again probably next summer, and I might make it in that rainbow seersucker checkerboard fabric, because this was what I was imagining doing with that fabric, was creating this dress. But I did want to toile it first before I cut into that precious fabric. So very happy with this toile. It is very, very wearable, and I have enjoyed wearing it in the summer months. Right, so the next two dresses are both by the same pattern designer, and they both have a very similar style actually. They're from So Love Patterns, and the first one I made was the Chloe dress. Now both dresses have this really interesting sweetheart, I suppose, shaped neckline piece with these cups, and then you sew a little band down at the front here to sort of draw them in over your bust, which is really, really lovely. Now this then has panels here across the bodice and quite a fitted A-line skirt with a slit up the front. It's such a beautiful design and construction. I really, really enjoyed putting this together. There are two options for the straps. There is a straight strap that goes over, or you can make a tie strap, and I just thought that was a lovely detail to add, and so I did decide to make the tie strap. And I made this in a viscose that I bought from Guthrie Ghani. It was one that they released for their 10th anniversary, so it's designed by Lauren for Guthrie Ghani with Rachel Parker. And It's called Be Happy Blooms. It comes in a navy base, which I bought, a white base, and I think a teal base as well. And I think there is some left on the website, so I'll link it below. It is a beautiful weight of viscose. It flows so nicely over the body. The drape is beautiful, and I just love the design with all these bright, happy flowers on it. Now, for the So Love Patterns dress, because it is fitted, I did grade the pattern, and there are instructions in the pattern on how to do that. So I made a size C across the bust here. Then I graded these panels here from a C here at the bust to a D here. And then I graded the skirt from a D at the waist to an E over the hip, and I'm really happy with how that turned out. It fits beautifully, it drapes nicely over my curves, and it's a really special piece that I've worn out with my husband a few times on some date nights. So love, love, love that dress. It's called the Chloe dress by So Love Patterns. So then one of the patterns that Joanna from So Love Patterns released this summer was called the Mia dress, and she very, very kindly sent me the pattern to try ahead of the release date to sew up and to share on social media. Now, I was delighted to do that because having already sewn the Chloe dress and also their spring jumpsuit, I know how much I love Joanna's patterns. So thank you, Joanna, for sending me the pattern. I was delighted to sew up the Mia dress, and I actually made it in this Fabric Godmother viscose challis. Now, because I chose something that was in my stash, I didn't have the length needed to make the full maxi length dress, which is what the Mia dress comes as, a maxi or a mini. So I actually just made it into more of a midi dress, sort of falls just below the knee, and I absolutely love that length. I just used all the fabric that I had and made it the length of the fabric. So again, it has this shaped bodice piece here across the bust, and then the skirt just drapes from there, which is just beautiful. And it's a panelled skirt, so it really hangs beautifully, and it has lots of fabric in it which just floats over the body, and it's finished at the back with an invisible zip. Now, the bodice piece here is fully lined, but the skirt is not lined, or I chose not to line it, and I just think it's such a beautiful piece. And again, I've loved wearing that on some date nights with my husband. It's a very, very pretty pattern, and I really like the shape of the bodice in those patterns. I believe there's one more dress that uses that bodice shape, and I think Joanna had a deal, or at least she did when I last looked on the website, in terms of buying those 3 patterns as a set if you like that shape across the bust. So a really beautiful pattern, and I'll definitely be holding that in mind to make again next summer because I just think they're such pretty wearable dresses. Now, the last thing I made for me was a bit of a hodgepodge of 2 different patterns. I used my beloved by hand London circle skirt, which is a free pattern that I've drawn out now. They have a circle skirt calculator on their website. You can put in your measurements, and then they produce the measurements that you'll need to put onto a pattern to make yourself a circle skirt. So I made a quarter circle skirt this time using what I had of this delicious fabric. Now, this is called Sweet Legs, and it's by Molly Molly, and you can see there are these strawberries with legs on, and I just think that is such fun. I absolutely love this fabric, and when she had a new drop recently of her fabrics, I was right on it, and I bought 2 meters of this straight away because I have looked at her fabrics for such a long time and loved the quirky designs of them, and I just think they're such fun. I also love this bright pink against this bright red. They're such great colours. Now, I wanted to make the most of this, and I decided to put on the waistband from the Brumby skirt. So it's a slightly deeper waistband on this skirt, and I used piping on the top and the bottom of the waistband just to make it stand out a little bit. I also added pockets to the skirt. Now, that then meant that a side zipper was slightly more tricky, so I decided to make that a real feature on the back there, and I inserted this lovely bright red zip to go with the piping. Now, that was quite interesting trying to get the circle skirt to fit into the Brumby waistband, because obviously they're 2 different patterns, so there was a bit of finagling that went on there, but I always enjoy the challenge of putting something together when you've got an image in your mind, and I just love the way it turned out, and I've really enjoyed wearing that. It is so bright and cheerful, and I've had so many comments when I wear it. People really love the legs on the strawberries, and it's just made so many people smile, including me. So that's probably one of my favourite makes of the summer, this circle skirt. Now, I also made a couple of things for my children because I can't help but sew for them. I love sewing for my children. I made a couple of Do It Better Yourself Club ABB tees, anything but basic tees for my boys. That is a definite tried and tested pattern for me. I've sewn a lot of those for my boys, and I had a really great cotton jersey from Spotlight called Cosmic Monsters, I think, which they have loved. Can't show them to you here on the video. I'll pop in some pictures because they're wearing them. They have worn them all summer constantly. I've only been able to pull them off them to wash them, and then as soon as they're dry, the boys are putting them back on again. So that's really, really lovely that they love wearing them so much. And that is a free pattern, and it's a fantastic pattern. I've used that for t-shirts, I've used that for pajama shirts, I've used it for my daughter. It's a pattern that has had a lot of use and will probably get more use because it does go up to age 12. And then I believe there are free pattern t-shirt patterns for men and for women on their website as well. So I'll definitely be looking at the men's t-shirt once my son grows out of the children's pattern, because it's a very, very nice, quick and easy t-shirt pattern to sew up for my children. Now, on to the sewing that didn't go so well. Now, I mentioned in the last video I made that I wanted to try sewing up the Styla Tavira pattern. Now, I don't think this is an issue with the pattern. I do think it's an issue with the fabric that I chose to make this pattern with. Now, the Styla Tavira is sort of a tennis style dress with built-in shorts underneath the skirt. Now, that's something I've been looking for a long time. As you know, I cycle my children to school and I cycle around doing my various jobs and things during the day, and I always wear cycle shorts underneath my skirts and dresses. So I thought, what a great idea to have shorts built in to a dress. I also love the detail on the back of this pattern with the twist. However, I just don't think it's the right style for me, but it was fun to sew up. Now, I made it in this gorgeous swim fabric from Sew Me Sunshine. It gave me sort of real Hunza G vibes. Now I decided to cut the bodice with the stripes going this way, and then to make the skirt with the stripes going the alternate way, because I thought that would be quite fun, but it just doesn't look right on me. You can see at the back here the gorgeous twist, which when you put it on it really sits nicely. I made simple black straps, which you can see at the back here, from the lining fabric, and it's all lined. And then if I can show you, you've got shorts underneath there, which I did lengthen a little bit to suit my requirements. So yes, and those are built in, they get sewn in at the waist. Now that does make for a little of a bulky seam at the waist and at the back actually, because you sew in elastic at the back. But as a pattern, it's a lovely pattern to sew. The instructions are excellent, and if you are a tennis playing person who needs a dress like this, I would suggest choosing a more simple jersey fabric than I did. I wanted one that I could potentially swim in as well as like a swim dress. But just on this occasion, I don't think the fabric worked perfectly for this pattern, and I don't think it really suits my style. So never fear. What I want to do is actually to sew up the Madeline Carly swimsuit, which I think, again, this fabric gives me real Hunza G vibes, and that swimsuit is quite similar to some of the Hunza G patterns. There is a lot of fabric in this skirt, so I think I should be able to get the swimsuit out of that and out of the bodice piece here, and also out of some of the fabric remnants that I've got. If I can't, I'll just make the Sandpiper swimsuit. I've made that before, and make more of a bikini style two-piece out of the fabric. So it's going to get used, the lining fabric and the swimsuit fabric, because it's too lovely not to use and to wear. So that's the plan for that one. It may not happen this summer, it may be something I work on next summer, but I would love to get that fabric reused, as it is such lovely fabric. That came from Sew Me Sunshine. There is some still left. It is such gorgeous swim fabric and such good quality. So I'm definitely going to be sewing that up into something else and repurposing that fabric. Now, when I saw this pattern come out, I was really excited. I absolutely love a skirt, and I love Friday Pattern Company, so when they released the Bernadette skirt, I was really excited. But when I made it up, it just did not suit my shape, which is sad. Now, I had a go at using some scraps just for fun, making a bit of a patchwork style dress to see how that turned out. Not sure it's quite worked, but that's fine. It was a bit of a toile really to use up some scraps, and also to just check the fit before I cut into some really nice winter weight fabric. This comes as a long skirt or as a mini skirt, and I actually thought in a wool fabric or in a tartan fabric or something like that, it might make a really nice wintry skirt. So I did want to make it up first, and I decided to do that in the sort of bits of pieces of fabric I had left over. Now the pattern has really lovely pleats at the front, which I put in, and then at the back over the bottom it has these darts. Now sadly for me, and actually I have seen a few photos on Instagram that also have this issue, so I don't think it's related just to me, it doesn't fit over the bottom. These darts aren't enough to cater for somebody like me that has a bigger bottom. It just actually rucks up here, and there is sort of some pulling across the back area, which just doesn't look great. Now what I actually tried, and I'll see if I can pop a video in of this, is I turned the skirt around, and when you turn it around, these pleats work beautifully over the bottom. So what I think I want to do is to twirl it again. I actually have a black twill fabric that I think would work quite well for the winter, so I'm going to twirl it in that, and I'm going to twirl using the front piece twice. Once for the front and once for the back, and see if that works better on my shape, because I love the front. I love these pleats. I love the belt, which I made here with a little Ethel and Joan buckle, and I really love the idea of this bag which clips onto the belt. This is the perfect size actually for my cell phone, so it was such a cute bag to sew up, and I'm still using the bag actually. I carry that out sometimes on a date night with my husband, and I have also used it if we're just going on a quick car trip, just to chuck my keys and my phone in when we're heading off in the car somewhere. So that's been great, but the skirt itself sadly just didn't work. I don't know whether the darts perhaps aren't deep enough. If I did a full seat adjustment that might work, but I have seen the same issue in some of the photos on Instagram with just this back here not sitting right across the bottom. So sadly this will not get worn, but it's okay. It was just a twirl with, like I say, these fabrics. I'll probably rip out the invisible zip down the side here, and like I say, I'm going to try it again with the pleats in the back as well as the front. So I guess a two front version of the Bernadette skirt. Now the other thing I have to say is the sizing on this is interesting. So for this one I'm just at the top end of a medium, but I did decide to make the medium because the finished measurement of the medium was 31 inches and the sizing for a medium waist is 28 to 29 inches. Now I prefer to either have a fitted waist or with about 1 inch of ease, so I'm always looking for a waistband with about a 30-inch finished measurement. So I definitely sized down on this one, which I don't normally do for skirts. So I can recommend checking that finished garment measurements quite carefully, because again I've seen quite a few reviews on Instagram that talked about sizing down for the next time they make the skirt. I suppose it's probably meant to sit down on your hips perhaps. I prefer my skirts to sit on my waist, so I did size down in this pattern and made a size medium, and like I say, I'm at the top end of the medium and the bottom end of the large in terms of my sizing on the Friday Pattern Company charts. So I failed this one sadly, but I really want to try it again because I do love the sort of the style of those pleats at the front. I love the idea of the skirt. I love the shape of it with the pleats. It just gives it such a lovely A-line shape. The back just did not work for me. Love to try it again, but it was a bit sad that that didn't work out quite as I had hoped. But then that's what happens with sewing. Some things work and some things don't. So those are the things I've been making this summer. I have been working away in the sewing room over the last few weeks as well, making a few autumn makes, and I'm looking forward to sharing those with you in a future video. Next week though, I'm looking forward to sharing my autumn sewing plans. The weather here is cooling down. We haven't had the summer perhaps we hoped for, and so I have had autumn on my mind for a little while now. So I have got some lovely autumn sewing plans to share with you, so do come back next week when I share those plans with you. And in the meantime, I hope you have a lovely week ahead, filled with lots of happy sewing. And I'll see you in my next video. Goodbye!